Are Jaime Lannister and Samwell Tarly protecting Bran from the White Walkers and the Night King at the Battle of Winterfell? And is Arya creating a diversion so that they can escape through the secret passage in the Crypts of Winterfell? Let's discuss it all here in this hype Game of Thrones Season 8 trailer theory video. The Game of Thrones Season 8 trailer gave us a closer look at some of the big moments that we can expect to see, but also raised major questions concerning the endgame. I mean, what could make Arya Stark act that frightened, and why would they also show her being so confident and badass in other parts of the trailer? I believe we can connect what's going on in the trailer with Arya Stark, Samwell Tarly, Bran Stark, and Jaime Lannister to the most recent interview with Entertainment Weekly and Vladimir Furdik, the actor who plays the Night King. On Thursday, I released a video talking about these major revelations in the interview, including that the Night King has a target that he wants to kill in Game of Thrones Season 8, and we will find out who it is. We've seen the Night King fail not once but twice trying to kill Jon Snow. However, during the big Hold the Door reveal, we see him take out the Three-Eyed Raven during one of the best episodes of the series. The Night King and the Three-Eyed Raven are in opposition in this story, and we currently have a new Three-Eyed Raven in Bran Stark, so it stands to reason that if the Night King killed the previous Three-Eyed Raven, he may want to kill the new one. Now, I've heard the argument, didn't he already achieve his goal? Well, he killed the Three-Eyed Raven and perhaps the last remaining members of the Children of the Forest. That still doesn't change the fact that he is the Night King, and as Vladimir stated during the interview, he wants revenge because of that. So I don't think it's a stretch to suggest that one of the major overarching themes of the books and the show is revenge. I mean, just look at the parallels between Daenerys Targaryen and the Night King. She is trying to take back what is hers by right. But we are still left with the question of why Bran Stark. The Night King's goal is to destroy humanity, and therefore Bran is the only one who can stand up to him, being he is on the same power level and the same playing field. There was a very good reason why Bran Stark was chosen by the Three-Eyed Raven after all of that time. In the trailer, there is a scene with Samwell Tarly and Bran Stark in which you can briefly see Samwell's breath turn cold, and then Bran narrates, "Everything you did put you where you are now, where you belong and home." Now, I do believe that Bran is talking to Jon in this scene with Samwell, and Jon would want to hear the story of his true lineage from the people that he trusts most. It is quite interesting, however, that we see the two most important big locations of the endgame of A Game of Thrones in King's Landing and in Winterfell. Of course, this teases the possibility of Jon becoming king in the end, but I also think what Bran is saying applies to Jaime Lannister. One of the more interesting things that stood out about the trailer is that we only hear 4 people speak. And this may very well be the last trailer for the last season of A Game of Thrones, and we only have 4 people speaking. You know this has to mean something. And our narrators, Bran, Arya, Jon Snow, and Jaime Lannister are characters that are going to have a huge role in deciding what happens in the final 6th episode of A Game of Thrones. I believe there will be a conversation between these 4 characters before chaos ensues and the Night King arrives with his army of the dead at Winterfell. Now, when Jon is told his true parentage, he will not have the option to sit and ponder on this information because of what's at stake. And I believe that Bran will not only tell Jon, but Samwell, Jaime, and Arya as well. During this conversation, he will tell them that he must make it to the God's Eye in the middle of the Isle of the Faces to go on one final journey to end the cycle of the Night King and the Long Night for good. This is where Jaime Lannister's honor will be put into question, and he will give his speech on how he has made his vow to fight for the side of the living. But not only that, he will take a new vow in front of his new king Jon Snow, the son of Rhaegar Targaryen, to protect Bran Stark at all costs. I believe we will have the interesting dynamic between Bran and Jaime, and Bran will vouch for Jaime and not tell anyone about what happened at the end of Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode 1. This could definitely empower Jaime, and Bran as the role of the forgiver or redeemer for Jaime is very interesting and almost mandatory if we are going to see Jaime's redemption arc resolved. Now, the Bran that is presented to us by the showrunners post becoming the Three-Eyed Raven is so desensitized that his past with Jaime doesn't even matter anymore. In a way, you could even argue that if Jaime wouldn't have pushed him out the window, Bran wouldn't have become the Three-Eyed Raven. Everything you've done, it's led you here. Maybe this applies to all of the characters with the voiceovers. Arya, Bran, Jon, and Jaime have all had difficult winding paths with many tough decisions. And each one of these characters have made hard decisions in their life and is different because of them, and has been led differently because of them as well. If Jaime wouldn't have killed Mad King Aerys Targaryen, none of this would have happened, and further down the rabbit hole we must go. Since Jaime Lannister lost his sword hand, he is no longer as capable as some of the other fighters we see featured in the trailer, such as Jorah Mormont and Brienne of Tarth. So Jaime and Samwell and others will be tasked with getting Bran to safety through the Crypts of Winterfell. However, I believe that the Night King will start to raise the dead during the Battle of Winterfell, which will make things more difficult, even if they set up the proper countermeasures to combat the massive size of his army. So here's what I think what happens. In the trailer, we are shown Brienne and Jaime in what looks to be like the high walls of a burning Winterfell, and Arya fighting with a dragonglass spear. I believe that this is actually the same scene, and they are attempting to move Bran Stark to safety. The reason they won't put Bran in the crypts right away with other characters such as Sansa, Varys, and Gilly is because if they do, then the magic of the Crypts of Winterfell will be dissolved by the mark the Night King placed on Bran Stark, which is why I believe that Arya is in such a rush in the scene we see earlier on in the trailer. They have to wait for the perfect opportunity for all of this to go down, and I believe when they are moving Bran Stark that Arya will encounter the Night King within the walls of Winterfell. We see Arya running with a broken spear first, which means the scene we see later on while she's fighting near the fire means it happens later. So, how does the spear get broken? Well, I believe that she is going to break the dragonglass spear on the Night King, which is why she's so terrified. Wouldn't it be fitting that she has a Valyrian steel dagger and fails to use it instead of opting for something she thinks will work but fails? I can't think of anything that would scare Arya that much, as she has faced so many obstacles, but facing death and trying to kill death to no avail would certainly be something that could shake you to your core. And I believe that we are going to see the Night King destroy Winterfell within the first 3 episodes. It's a necessary sacrifice to show us that things may not actually work out for all of our favorite characters. In this particular still, you can see what I believe to be Jaime and Samwell pushing Bran behind Arya Stark. And when Arya takes her deep breath, I think what we're seeing here is her composing herself for a split second before she becomes bait to lure the Night King away from Bran Stark. Perhaps she has found an alcove or somewhere to hide for a brief moment while she's running away from the Night King. Either way, she has to compose herself from this intense fear to finish what they started, and that is the plan to evacuate everyone and Bran from Winterfell. Wouldn't it be ironic if Jaime Lannister made a vow to protect Bran Stark from the Night King, a representation of death and ice echoing the choice he made to save the realm from the Mad King of Fire, saving hundreds of thousands in King's Landing? And while Jaime Lannister may not be the swordsman he once was, he has gained a great amount of perspective on his journey as to what really matters, and that's keeping his word to his new king. His view of love has shifted from a selfish one like Cersei's, who has become even more selfish over the past 7 seasons, and Jaime now loves freely and fiercely and will defend that right by fighting for those who are still alive. He's also going back in a way by defending his core morality by saying this. He killed Mad King Aerys Targaryen to save the people, and that's what his role is in the endgame. I could see a scenario that mirrors the scene we got with Barristan Selmy and Daenerys Targaryen in Season 4, where Sir Barristan illuminated Dany on what Rhaegar was actually like. We could see an emotional scene between Jaime and Jon where Jaime seeks atonement for not being able to fulfill his duty by also protecting Rhaegar's children. And as we saw last season with the growth of Jon Snow as a person, he has the ability to forgive and empower others by letting them know the past is the past, and what matters lies in the here and the now while you're still breathing. Wouldn't it be ironic if Jaime's new vows mean that he's actually trading in his white cloak of the Kingsguard for an honorary black cloak of the Night's Watch, and with Jon Snow as his new king and Lord Commander until his death while they face certain death? And in episode 2 of season 1, we gotta remember that Jaime asked Jon if he ever swung a sword and mocked him for going to the wall to fight Grumpkins and Snarks. Jaime literally foreshadowed Jon's entire arc, and now Jon has a Valyrian steel blade and has slain multiple White Walkers and possibly may kill the Night King. Jon will remember this conversation, but it won't matter because this time Jon will extend his hand because the past is the past, and the new pact will be made between the White Wolf and the Lion. And if everything I told you in this video stands to be true, we are truly witnessing one of the most epic redemption arc for the ages, and I, for one, can't wait to see it happen. But what do you think? Is Arya creating a diversion for Bran and others so that they can escape? And will Jaime Lannister finally redeem himself by doing something more heroic? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and let's create an epic discussion. For the next video, I want to do something really fun and do a poll in the comment section on what you would like me next to cover. So the topic with the most votes in the comment section will be covered in my next video. And of course, a big thank you to all of the amazing hype bringers on Patreon who support this channel. Let's welcome our new members who have joined the Super PAC on Patreon this month. Peagle Pete, Janet Lynn, Ellen King, Midi, and Dark Mother. You can find the link to my Patreon, GoFundMe for Con of Thrones 2019 for Nashville, and my social media in the description of this video. Thanks for watching. Hype and love.